After studying this module, you will be able to know about the anatomy of tooth, chronology of tooth eruption, the growth pattern of teeth and the age estimation by teeth. Now to introduce you the topic, the anatomy of teeth is the most important to understand. The tooth is divided into two parts. The visible part is called crown and the hidden part, which is embedded in the bony socket with the connective tissue, is the root. So it's a crown and root. Both the crown and root consist of hard and soft tissues. The crown portion of the tooth is made of enamel, which is the hardest substance in the body, whereas the dentine, the bulk of the tooth, is made of this material, which is called as dentine, and pulp tissue, which is housed in a hollow cavity. The pulp tissue supplies the blood and nerve supply to the tooth. The outermost portion of the root is called cementum. The dentine and the pulp tissue form the other two layers of the root of tooth. The root portion of the tooth may be a single with one apex or terminal end, as usually found in the anterior teeth and some of the premolars, or multiple with bifurcation or trifurcation, dividing the root portion in two or more extensions or roots with their apexes or apices or terminal ends, as found in all molars and in some premolars. The portion of jaw serving as a support for the tooth is called the alveolar process. The bone of the tooth socket is called alveolus. The crown portion of the tooth is never covered by bony tissue after full eruption in human beings, but it is partly covered at the cervical third in young adults by soft tissue of the mouth known as gingival tissue or gums. Coming on to the growth pattern. The calcification of primary teeth begins in utero from 13 to 16 weeks post fertilization. So it occurs very early when the fetus is inside the mother's womb. It starts from that. By 18 to 20 weeks, all primary teeth begin to calcify. The lower deciduous teeth, or you can say the temporary teeth, they erupt first and thus initiates the deciduous dentition. The appearance of the deciduous or the temporary second molar completes the deciduous dentition by 2 to 2.5 years of age. Of course, the eruption dates are variable. The deciduous teeth shed earlier and permanent teeth erupt earlier in girls. The root of a deciduous teeth or the temporary tooth is completely formed in just about 1 year after eruption of that tooth into the mouth. So in 1 year, the complete process of eruption is completed. The intact root is short-lived and then it begins to reabsorb at the apex or depending upon the position of the permanent tooth. The mixed dentition exists from approximately age 6 years to 12 years. There we have got both type of teeth, that is temporary and permanent, because the temporary have started to falling off and permanent have started to appear. So that's why it is called as the period of mixed dentition. The upper molars have got 3 roots, the lower have 2 roots usually. The upper and lower second temporary molars resemble first permanent molars in the same quadrant, as they occupy the same space as well. The upper first deciduous molars, they vaguely resemble upper premolars, and the lower first deciduous molars are odd and unique into themselves. And this chart depicts the chronology of human dentition, which defines that okay, the primary or the upper dentition in the upper jaw, the tooth will appear in utero, the first evidence of calcification is around 14 weeks, and till molar it will go up to 19 weeks, and then crown completion happens at from around 1.5 months of period to 11 months of time, and then there occurs eruption from 10 months to 29 months, and the root is completed starting from 1.5 years to maximum 3 years. That is in the upper jaw, and almost synonymous or simultaneous in the lower jaw as well. The permanent upper tooth, whereas this appears, the root formation starts at around 3 to 4 months of age, and the eruption, the crown is completed by the age of 4 to 5 years, and the complete eruption occurs at the age of 7 to 8 years, and the complete formation of root occurs at around the age of 10 years. So basically it appears, or you can say the eruption of the first permanent molar, that is the first permanent tooth to appear, that happens around 7 to 8 years of age, or sometimes 6 to 7 years of age. The period is variable, and the completion of the root formation is at the age of 10 years. When we talk about the permanent dentition in the upper jaw, the first molar, the root of course is formed at birth, but then the eruption occurs at around 6 to 7 years of age, and the root formation is completed by the end of 9 to 10 years. Whereas the first incisor and the second incisors, they appear, or you can say the tooths are erupted completely at the age of 7 to 8 years and 8 to 9 years, and after 3 years their root formation is complete, that is 10 to 11 years. Almost, and the canine, that appears at the age of 11 to 12 years, and the root is completed by the end of 13 to 15 years. Same happens for the premolars, both premolars, and then at the age of 12 to 13 years, it is the second molar which erupts completely, and their root formation is completed by the end of 14 to 16 years. The third molar, which is very important from this point of view, the root formation starts at the age of 7 to 9 years, but it completely erupts at the age of 17 to 21 or even up to 25 years, whereas the root is completed as maybe you can say 1 year later, so from 18 to 25. So 17 to 21, it may be it is the age of appearance of the third or the wisdom tooth, third molar tooth, and the 18 to 25 is the age for the complete formation of root of third molar. Almost synonymous or same period of time of eruption is in the lower jaw. There is not much difference. That is the usual data which have been placed by the authors from the various parts of the world. If we see the eruption sequence of permanent dentition in Indian population, just to summarize this particular aspect of eruption sequence, the central incisors, it is the upper right central incisor which appears at the age of 6.77 years, whereas the left appears a little bit late, 7.13 years, and the lower appears at the age of 6.02, and right one, and the lower left appears at the age of 6.17. So we can say it is the lower right central incisor which appears first at around age of 6.02 years, and it is the upper left central incisor which appears last. Lateral incisors, again it is the right lower lateral incisor which appears first, that at the age of 7.13 year, whereas the right upper lateral incisor it appears last at the age of 8.04 years. But that is, you can say, that is in the Indian population almost same as that. Then coming on to the development of the human dentition from birth to the 6th year. So this chart depicts the various stages of development of the tooth in utero and afterwards. Then development of the human dentition from the 7th year to the maturity, the other chart which depicts that. Coming on to the eruption sequence. Eruption is the process where a tooth moves from within the crypts, erupts to the alveolar bone and occludes with the opposing teeth in the mouth. The lower deciduous teeth or the temporary teeth erupt first, thus initiating the temporary dentition. The appearance of the temporary second molar completes the temporary dentition by 2 to 2.5 years of age. Of course, the eruption dates are variable, and the temporary teeth, they are shed earlier and permanent tooth erupt earlier in girls, as happens in all the developmental milestones are happening first in girls and later on in boys. The root of a temporary tooth is completely formed in just about 1 year after eruption of that tooth into the mouth. I am talking about the temporary teeth. The intact root is short-lived and then it begins to reabsorb at the apex or depending upon the position of the permanent tooth. The mixed dentition exists from approximately age 6 to 12 years of age. The upper molars have 3 roots, whereas the lower have 2 roots. The upper and lower second deciduous molars or the temporary molars, they resemble first permanent molar in the same quadrant, and the upper first temporary molar vaguely resemble the upper premolar. Of course, the lower first temporary molar are odd and unique. We can make it out. Coming on to the age estimation with the help of this knowledge. The age estimation is an important activity that is frequently carried out in the medico-legal practice. Administration of justice often requires estimation of age of an individual in litigations involving both civil as well as criminal cases, such as issues related to consent, employment and retirement, where the age is required. The person cannot be employed if he is below 18 years of age and usually retires at the age of 60 or 62 or 65 depending upon the governmental policies. The marriages, for example, the age for the legal age of marriage of girls is 18, whereas the legal age of marriage for boys is 21. The cases of sexual offense, all cases of rape and sexual assaults, the question of age is one of the most important aspect from both point of view, whether it's a accused or whether it's a victim. Victim, any girl below 18 years, that is the issue which we have to ascertain, because in that cases, even with the consent, if she has consented for the act, this will amount to rape. So age is determined in that cases, and the same is for the accused. Whereas when the below 18 years, it will be treated as juvenile and the punishment will be a different, totally different, as happened in the Nirbhaya rape episode. And now of course it has been changed from 18 to 16 depending upon the crime, the type of crime. If more heinous is the crime, then the issue is being debated whether the age maybe up to 16 years may also be considered for that. In cases of kidnapping, where the age of 10 years is to be required, abduction, criminal responsibility, where the age of 7 years becomes important, and juvenility, as I told, 18 years or again 16 years depending upon situation. So in all these situations, the question of age arises. A medical legal expert takes into account various parameters related to the development of body for assessing the age of an individual that represent the normal trend of population at large. And these parameters must be clearly discernible, readily attainable, and reasonably fixed so that these can be applied to the individuals of the population with the element of certainty. In childhood and adolescent group, the parameters such as appearance and fusion of ossification centers in long bones, eruption of temporary and permanent dentition, and appearance of facial, maxillary and pubic hair are in plenty, and they correlate sufficiently to supplement each other in deciding the age of an individual. Dental examination is one of the most important parameters that help us to identify the age of an individual. Teeth are known to aid in personal identification as well, in addition to the age determination, as they are highly durable to resist the effect of putrefaction by chemical and other environmental factors. So, even in the decomposed bodies or the badly charred bodies, the teeth help us in approximately giving the age of the person, and many other findings as well. They may also be helpful when no other way of identification in age estimation is available, such as in cases where only skull is available for examination. So, in that case, the question regarding the bone does not arise. So, again it is the teeth which becomes most important. Sometimes even a single tooth may help in establishing the identity or age of an individual. Coming on to the age determination, to elaborate further, the teeth develop in a regular and sequential manner until the age of 15 years, permitting the age estimation within a range of 1 year. The deciduous dentition begin to develop during 6th week of intrauterine life, followed by mineralization, which begins at 14 plus minus 2 weeks and continues after birth. The permanent dentition begins to calcify at birth, starting with the first molar and continuing until the root of the second molar is complete by the age of 15 plus minus 1 year. Neonatal lines, the trauma of childbirth induces the metabolic stresses on tooth forming cells, and this cellular disruption results in a thin band of altered enamel and dentine, and this is called as neonatal line. And this neonatal line indelibly inscribes the event of birth into any tooth undergoing enamel and dentine apposition at the time. The crude age assessment is theoretically possible in deceased children by measuring the thickness of tooth structure beyond the neonatal line. Then let's understand what are age-related dental changes. There occurs loss of permeability and increase in the brittleness of enamel over a period of time. There occurs increased width annulations of the cementum. The various dentine changes such as increased secondary, peritubular and sclerotic dentine. Then there occurs increased dentine mineralization, and there occurs decreased dentinal tubules. Then the dental pulp goes several changes such as compromised circulation innervations, fat droplet deposition, odontoblast vacuolization, reticular atrophy, pulpal fibrosis, hyaline degeneration, fat replacement, pulpal cysts, mucoid degeneration and calcification. So, considering all these factors and structures and chronology, now coming on to the what are various methods of age estimation, how we can correlate and how we can pinpoint. So, dental age estimation in children and adolescent, we can divide it into various categories. First is the dental age estimation in the children and adolescent, and then dental age estimation in the adults because of that chronology. In children and adolescents, there are methods like Atlas method, also called as radiographic method, the method by Shore and Maslach, and the Demirjian method. Whereas in the adults, we apply the radiographic method as well as the Gustafson's method, that deals with the morphological changes. And sometimes now with the recent advances, we are using the other methods as well, visual as well as the amino acid racemization, which is the recent research topic. Nevertheless, a number of age estimation methods have been developed for adult teeth, we must understand. So, taking one by one, the Atlas approach, the radiographs are used to morphologically assess the distinct stages of mineralization of all teeth. The tooth mineralization stages are much less affected by variation in the nutritional and endocrine status, unlike bone, and hence provide a more accurate identification or indication of the chronological age. The advantage of the dental radiographs are because they are non-destructible, so they can be used more reliably and readily also. And they are a very good method when all the ossification of long bones have been fused. So, beyond 18 years or so, the ossification centers of the long bones, they becomes obsolete because they are already fused. So, we don't use that knowledge beyond the 18 to 20 years with the help of long bones for determining age, whereas teeth does. The dental radiographs are of enormous value to determine the age when only skull has been found and other parts or the long bones are not available for the age estimation. Then the method given by the Shore and Maslach, they described 20 chronological stages of dental development starting from 4 months after birth to the 21 years of age. Then third is the Demirjian technique. Demirjian, he used thousands of radiographs of the French Canadian children ranging from 2 to 20 years, and this he used for this standardization. The development of each left permanent mandibular tooth, that is the lower jaw, except for the third molar, was rated on an 8-stage scale from A to H, that is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. This is the 8-stage scale which was used by Demirjian. Each letter corresponds to a score. Then the summed scores of all 7 teeth represent the dental maturity score, and the dental maturity score can be converted directly into the dental age using either a graph or the table of standards. Then coming on to the Gustafson's method, which is most frequently applied in case of adults. Of course, that's a very, you can say, a primitive method, or not primitive, we can say it was given much earlier in 1950 by Gustafson, and he used various regressive changes of hard and soft tissues of the teeth, and he studies the changes occurring in individual teeth and succeeded in estimating the age with some accuracy. Basically, he collected 6 dental changes. He studies 6 dental changes for age estimation. These 6 changes are atresion, periodontosis, secondary dentine, cementum apposition, root resorption, and transparency of root. Taking one by one, what is atresion? The occlusal aspect of the tooth is worn out gradually with the age. The enamel is worn out first, then dentine, and lastly the pulp is exposed. In periodontosis, the recession occurs in the gums and the surrounding periodontal tissues with the advancing age. The secondary dentine formation, this develops within the walls of the pulp cavity, and when it develops, it decreases the size of the pulp cavity, and which could be due to the aging, and this is partially due to the pathological condition like caries also, so that must be remembered. Then cementum apposition is by counting the incremental lines of the cementum, because they are formed due to deposition of the secondary cementum. Then root resorption. It usually occurs late in the age. The cementum and dentine show characteristically sharp grooves. Then transparency of the root. This is the most reliable of all these 6 criteria. If I tell you out of these 6 criteria which is the most reliable, the single most reliable criteria is the transparency of the root. What happens with the age? The dentinal tubules are filled with the minerals and then they turn opaque. The other methods are the visual and the amino acid racemization. The visual, of course, is the simplest age estimation method when we see the eruption sequence. Usually the method is based on the clinical expertise. Without any method, without any formal thing, we just give the numbering as per the Federation Dentaire International FDI formula, or more frequently now we are using modified FDI formula, and sometimes it may be questionable because it's a personal experience thing. Amino acid racemization, which has come up recently and lot of research has been done on this aspect. It has been said that the relationship between the extent of aspartic acid racemization in dentinal biopsy specimens and age is very close, and it facilitates the age estimation. The hypothesis is that as age advances, this L-aspartic acid will change into D-aspartic acid. So there occurs racemization from L form to D form in the aspartic acid. This amino acid racemization is used to determine relative dates of biological materials such as bone, shell and tooth, and that has been used for archaeological context for many years, over 30 years. At present, based on the accuracy, simplicity and the time required, teeth are the best organ for the estimating age. This method is exclusively used in the age estimation of unidentified corpses. This method involves extraction of one or more teeth. Hence, this method was not applied on living humans due to ethical concerns. Now, therefore, a biopsy technique applicable to dentine was developed which causes only minor discomfort to the subject during the research. The type of teeth chosen for the analysis may influence the result of estimation of age at death, since the dental age is not equivalent to the chronological age. The level of proteins are high in dentine than enamel. Hence, dentine is preferred over enamel for age estimation when we are talking about the amino acid racemization. The procedure is as follows: the sample handling, the bleach treatment, the washing solution, the pulverization, the demineralization, the hydrolysis, the chromatographic separation. I will take one by one. The sample handling. This is the vital since fixation influences racemization. Fixatives such as ethanol, formalin and formaldehyde are recommended as standard fixatives for the dental age estimation. The bleach treatments. The second one is the bleach treatment. There the adherent soft tissue is removed from the teeth using the sodium hypochlorite. Then third step is the washing solution. The tooth samples are washed with the acetone followed by 0.2 normalcy of hydrochloric acid. Then pulverization. The calcified tissue is often pulverized during sample preparation prior to demineralization. The pulverization increases the amount of extracted organic material that contains more soluble collagen. The proteins are extracted using a chelating agent such as EDTA, that is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, rather than the mineral acids. Then demineralization is done by mineral acid, preferably hydrochloric acid, to isolate a fraction of the total dentine protein. A concentration of 0.6 normal HCl with continuous agitation at 4 degrees centigrade causes much faster and simpler demineralization and can be used for the dentine fragments. Then the next step is the hydrolysis. The temperature for hydrolysis ranges from 100 to 110 degrees centigrade and the time periods can range from 6 to 20 hours. The last step is the chromatographic separation. The high pressure gas chromatography and the gas chromatography HPGC and GC, they have been used to separate and quantify D-aspartic and L-aspartic enantiometers in dentine, and GC is the method typically used in the forensic settings. The amino acids are usually derived as N-trifluoroacetic acid, isopropyl esters, and all the amino acids can be separated and quantified on a capillary column in one chromatographic run. With the help of this, the age determination can be done by the equation where we have got this equation. The coefficient of racemization, that is called as Kr, is equal to A multiplied by age plus B. Kr is equal to ln, then brackets 1 plus D oblique L divided by 1 minus D oblique L, where D and L are integrated peak areas of the respective enantiomer. A is the rate constant of racemization of aspartic acid in dentine and B is the Y intercept. Coming on to the forensic significance, including the age estimation of this whole process, what we called as post-mortem dental profiling. The role of the forensic dentist is to narrow down the identification process by giving information about the sex, race, age, socioeconomic status, occupation, dietary habits, dental and some systemic diseases, as well as careful examination of the deceased or the leftover human remains at the site of disaster. These characteristics are complemented by various secondary characteristics like features, personal belongings like pocket contents, cloths including any mark, defect, stitching, jewelry, etc. Hair, scar, tattoos, external peculiarities including the deformities, the congenital abnormalities, whether due to disease process or natural, or maybe occupational stigmata, race, religion or nationality. So when we compile this information, the race, when we comment upon the race, there is the careful examination of the skull and its form and its shape gives a clue about the race. Then there are shovel-shaped incisors, multi-cusp premolars, the talons cusps, the taurodonts, the carabili cusps. So all these are pointer towards the race of that individual having those kind of teeth. Then gender also, they comment upon with the help of teeth we can comment upon the gender as well when we talk about the postmortem dental profiling. The root length of the cuspids is longer in males, approximately 3 mm as compared to females. And the Dorian's method is there by which we can differentiate male and female teeth. The Y chromatin and DNA analysis from the microscopic examination of the teeth can also be done when we say whether it's a male or female. Then various type of occupation or dietary habits can be known by examining, like there occurs erosions, stains or unusual wearing patterns. Erosions, the alcohol, substance abuse, working in an industry with the use of acids, excessive consumption of carbonated beverages or disorders like anorexia nervosa, other eating disorders like hiatus hernia, there occurs erosion of teeth. Stains, the smoking, the tetracycline, chewing betel nut and smokeless tobacco, dental fluorosis. To summarize, child of 2 to 3 years will have 20 temporary teeth and this will remain till 6 to 7 years of age. The first permanent molar erupts at the age of 6 to 7 years. Then the total number of teeth becomes 24. Period of mixed dentition is from 6 to 12 years. But the total number of teeth will remain 24 because the temporary teeth are falling and the permanent teeth are erupting, taking that place. The secondary permanent molar erupts at the age of 12 to 14 years and then total number of teeth becomes 28. Between 12 to 17 years, there occurs lengthening of the ramus and space behind second molar which is created, and with the help of this we can comment upon the age. The third molar erupts between the age of 17 to 25 years and may be only in 60% population. Age below 18 years, the parameters are calcification of enamel, formation of root and eruption sequence. Between 18 to 25 years of age, assessment of the third molar, that is the crown formation or the root formation and the eruption, and above 25 years it is the occlusion, the Gustafson's method as well as amino acid racemization.